All right, so it's gonna be about a hey, it's gonna be about a 30 minutes video on practicing working and talking at the same time, which is not an easy thing, and I'm learning, I guess, to do actually to do paint now. And I had a couple ideas I wanted to try out. The first idea is that I'm trying to draw a little bit differently than I'm working usually, thinking more of tension points and big shapes. And the second thing is I wanted to try mixing up the 3D tension, the 3D material, which is basically studio paint, allows to use 3D models and to post them. And well, if you want, you can trace them or copy them. But actually, what I was interested in was actually because I think that this is a little bit too dry to do things like that. It lacks life a little bit. So I'm going to start from a simple, hopefully dynamic composition. And then I'm just going to use the 3D as help punctually, locally on certain points. Might work, might not. Anyway, this video is a test. It's also a test for my audio. So here we go. First thing I want to do is I'm just gonna try to do a big shape and work more or less with this shape. Okay. So maybe given two. For people who have seen, read the Marvel how-to book, it will be fairly familiar because that's one of the techniques that these guys are suggesting. So we'll see. Okay. I'm saying a lot of I have a lot of hesitation. I'm very aware of that, but I'm practicing. Okay, so there we go. So the first thing I'm doing, it's a little bit. Sometimes I'm noticing that even like very simple art when you do transforms, if it's on a big surface, it really takes a long time. So I'm just gonna have to bear with me and wait a little. Keep in mind I'm working at 600 dpi resolution, so that's pretty high res and these are pretty big files. This being said, it's probably should have started with a much lower res model. Page, sorry, I'm doing it up 2D, so I'm getting my vocabulary confused sometimes. So once I have this, I'm going to sketch very roughly bits and pieces of the scene, not necessarily in a specific order. It will really be constructing something with the first ideas that come to mind. I know it seems a little bit weird, but rather than constructing linearly from the starting point and connecting everything together, I'm just, as ideas come, basically putting them on paper. So the cool thing about this is that I actually am able to use my basic shape and sort of start marking stuff that comes to my mind. Obviously, I wanted to do something fairly dynamic, so I'm kind of going with a convoluted, weird hand poses. If you guys are familiar with, the old Steve Ditko comics, you'll you'll be thinking, oh yeah, this is kind of the sort of things that you would see in Doctor Strange comic or an old Spider-Man comic and this sort of stuff. Anyway, um, what I'm marking right now is not necessarily going to be final, especially that since I really got myself here into a very, very complicated pose. I'm also noticing that my perspective should be a little bit more exaggerated, so I'm going to make bigger feet. Obviously, this is a very, very flexible character. That might work, that might not work. Again, I'm just experimenting. And I think that therefore he should have a knee here. So what does that mean? That means that I can sort of start connecting some points, knowing that every time I get a new idea, I'm free to move on to another part of the page. So right now I had an idea for facial expressions, so I'm doing that. It's the great thing about this way of working is that you really are not stuck. All right, so this is going to be really, really super flexible. Sure, that's helpful. And one thing I've decided early on a previous drawing is that I'm going to give that guy sort of a magician sort of power, and he's going to be looking fairly urban. So what does urban mean? And basically, I'm going to give him a hoodie. He's probably somebody who's hanging out on streets and rooftops, but hey, he's got magical powers. So that's kind of cool for him. Can do a bunch of stuff. Maybe he's also a really good parkour dude. Actually, it could be a dude or a girl. Uh, it doesn't really matter at this point. Just good for now. Goofing around. And what's really nice is that your figure sort of starts building itself, which is cool. The reason I had that other square here was that I wanted to introduce some sort of antagonist or witness of the action. I think probably so. For that guy, I don't need to rely as much. Yeah, it starts looking like Superman. Um, of my construction with from separate parts, but since I sort of want to keep him within that square, and this is cool because I'm generating for myself also because I'm not restarting with really an image in mind. Um, I'm sort of surprising myself and as I go trying to figure out solution, but also a lot of these solutions are actually dictated by the the, the box I had made myself work with, and now fairly naturally and honestly, it's not a lot of thinking. I sort of had a drawing that built itself, if that makes any sense. All right, so obviously, I don't really want. It can be a muscular guy, but I don't want him to be Superman. I don't want him to be a superhero. Maybe maybe he's maybe he's wearing some sort of a suit jacket. I like to work with jackets or even uh, a coat. It doesn't really matter. I'm on the layers on the layer that I'm only using for building my scene. So I'm not going to be finalizing anything here. Trying to fix it here a little bit. It seems to me like it's a little too far. Uh, so yeah, we almost got like a Spider-Man versus Green Goblin scene or something like that. I hope I'm not unconsciously mimicking like a classic cover that I lost so much when I was a kid that I sort of go back to. I don't know. We'll see. Another thing that I did on a separate screen is I gathered a little bit of reference. I don't really have to work on this specific layer, but I sort of wanted to have a little understanding of refresh in my mind what a sweater looks like, sort of stuff, a hoodie. So I'm going to take advantage of this and use that really cool blue pen option property for that layer and create a new layer on top of this. Um, so this is going to allow me and I to sort of make more precise decisions on my drawing. Sometimes this becomes really my tight pencil when I work like this. Sometimes I need an extra couple of layers and to on top of this to keep refining what I'm doing. All right, so looking at my reference, I'm just getting some pointers on how the thing is built. Again, I give myself about half an hour, so I am not going to be doing that much detailing. I might not even go into inking. I'm not sure I'll have time. So, okay, let me give it just some folds. Hoodies often are fairly thick-ish fabric, so they fold, but the fold often are pretty bold. They're not like all these tiny little wrinkles. The wrinkles you will still find usually in the parts of the clothing that the most worn out. So like around the hems of the outfit, stuff like that. I have also some hoodie laces that I have to represent somehow. I could even show a little bit of lapel. I'm realizing that the shape of my hoodie is a little too much like a hat. That's something I struggle with a lot. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm not the cool kid who grew up with hoodies in my generation when you had to wear a hood in the winters. It's because your mom didn't want you to catch a cold, and you had to go to school with a hoodie, and pretty much the other cool kids would kind of laugh at you. Now the fashions have changed, obviously, so it's kind of cool to wear hoods. I always struggling with that. Every time I love hoodies. Every time I put a hoodie in my head, which is not often, I'm like, oh, are people watching me doing that? It's a little bit shameful. I don't know. It's silly. Looking for details, I also have like some sort of baggy-ish pants. I'm just going to grab my reference and look at just some basic lines, how things fold. I'm actually using a reference from just I guess, some catalog model, and you just see the legs of some dude standing up. But that's enough for my purpose because I'm not trying to get into copying stuff that's realistic. Okay, so this would probably look better if my curve is. Oh, now we're really more in Spider-Man territory. Okay, all right. Doesn't matter. It's cool. If you notice, I am not doing tons of work on the fingers, and there is a pretty good reason for this. It's because I wanted to test and also to demonstrate the 3D model feature in Clip Studio Paint. And I was going to use that feature to not to help me with the whole body, but to help me with just body parts. Some sort of expression. This again will get refined. So I'm still working really, really loose. Right now I'm wondering if my feet are too big and if there's enough perspective, but this should be okay with that foreshortened arm of the antagonist character. Since anatomy is, oh fuck, sorry, excuse my French. Being French, myself, I guess, gives me an excuse to curse just for the pleasure of saying this. He's got a coat, maybe he's got a belt on his coat, maybe it's a little loose. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So that's, I don't know, they're just some super criminal who likes to wear trench coats and fly. Why not? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make them fly. That'd be cool. Yes. So original. I bet there's no superheroes, supervillains who fly, right? All right, so I don't have ref for trench coat, but the cool trench coats are very, very cold, and often they have that sort of mini belt on the wrist. They are usually very fairly thin, flexible fabric. So you really want to make it adopt the muscles on top and sort of be looser at the bottom. It makes sense. That hand, okay, I'm being lazy here. Is just ready to punch, so it's really not much about it, and you don't really need to. I mean, you could, but I don't really need to spend too much time on this. I wanted to. I'm going to give him a shorter code because in order to represent the perspective, foreshortening of the perspective, I want to be able to at least see his foot at the bottom. It might not be enough. Maybe he has more of an expression, facial expression, even though it's a profile. I'm going to modify his face a little because I want to see a little bit of his eyes. He doesn't look pissed off enough. So I'm going to erase a little and make him frown more. Yeah. Okay. Whoa, Neanderthal. Forehead, I apologize to where might be offending who are like, hey, I look just like that in my profile picture on Facebook. Sorry, it's awesome looking good anyway. All right, so I got a little bit of construction done here. I will mark my hands a little bit more. If you notice, I'm not really drawing anything. I'm just sort of positioning my character's fingers. And again, I could draw this. I'm not great at hands, but I know it's necessary exercise to draw hands, but for the purpose of this, I don't know how to call it, this demo, this video, I wanted to show you guys, I wanted to try out how I could use the 3D feature, if that makes sense. So right now, okay, I will go into more detail maybe later. I don't know if I'm gonna have time, but I also have reference for this guy's shoes. I got some cool picture of Nike Air that I like. I'm a big fan of Nike Airs. I'm wearing some right now. Very comfy shoes, very good, very cool designs. So I am not spending too much time on the hands. But see, one interesting thing that happened was that I don't usually work like this, but since I started working with starting my drawing in a bunch of different places on the canvas and not necessarily following a continuity, I sort of my brain has been tricked into sort of continuing to work like this, and so I'm sort of like jumping from one part of my drawing to the other without even really noticing. I will probably have to go back to my character expression at some point. God, these shoes are a mess. I might even have to help myself with 3D on the feet. We'll see. It's not very important right now, but what I'm trying to demonstrate is the technical aspect, and I'm really giving myself a time constraint that's kind of drastic. All right, so trench coats also often have these shoulder things. I don't know what you call them. So these are cool, I think. Maybe the belt is also flying. And I mentioned the guys flying, so maybe I will just make, no, I'm getting into a little too much complexity. So I was gonna do maybe like some outline of a city or something, but I think maybe having them like super high up in the sky and having some clouds behind them will just work as well. I have to look at the time actually. Yeah. So I have another maybe 20 minutes tops to keep doing this thing. All right. So again, that's I'm really beginning to do that sort of stuff. I've never shared any. I've done one video so far. I've not shared it. It's private in my YouTube channel. I'm just mumbling, even worse than today, and testing a bunch of stuff. So okay, all right. So now I probably don't need my construction anymore. So it gives me a chance to sort of go back on my pencil and maybe fix a couple of things that I might not have seen because I had my blue line. And you can say whatever you want about blue line drawings. They still occlude a little bit of your pencil art, so you don't want to stack them up and have them visible all the time. All right, so I gotta go. I got the phone. Sorry.